this video expecting Triad BOOTCAMP, and I'm sitting here playing a simple 4-chord Weezer song. What gives? Well, the Triad BOOTCAMP is that we're going to take a 4-chord song and move it all around the neck, learn all the chords we need to play it not only where it was written, but anywhere you want it, and ultimately do the same for any song that you were working on or that you'd like to write yourself. So let's get to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 4-chord song and we're going to learn the other inversions, the other voicings of those same triads up and around the neck so that we can play essentially a different version of it. And this is going to be applicable to any chord you're playing, any song you're playing, is what's the appropriate triad shape to play it in the position I'd like to play it, and can I make a rendition of the song in a new position, in a different position? Maybe my other guitar player in the band is playing down here and I want to play up here. Maybe they're playing up here and I got to play all the way up here. Maybe they're playing up here and I got to go down here. Those kind of choices and that amount of control is going to allow us to have more fun and play stuff that's more musical, more interesting, more flexible, fit into a wider variety of musical contexts. So here we go. We're going to learn 6 triad shapes. We're going to learn 3 major, 3 minor, and then we're going to put them all together into the chord progression. So let's jump right into the majors. So here are the 3 triad shapes we're going to learn. They are the top 3 string triads. Each one is going to be on the E, B, and G strings. And let's just go in and start playing them. So here's this first triad. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to say each triad has a shape and a root note. The shape is going to give us the quality. In this case, it's a major triad. The root note is going to give us the letter. So in this case, the root note is G. The red note is the root note in each of these shapes. So this is G. Now the first thing to do is just try to play that. I'm playing it with a little first finger bar across the top 2 strings and the middle finger on the G string. If I can't play that, knowing everything there is to know about it doesn't help me. You need to play it. That's the very first thing. Play the shape. Play it, grab it, play it, grab it. Now we're going to move it around because we might need to. If this is G, then this is A, which means this is G major, and this is A major. And this is B major, and C major, and D major, and E major, and F major. If you can move this shape around and understand that the root note is the thinnest string, you can play any chord. G flat, F sharp, trick question, same chord. F, G, A, B. You might need that for a different song. We're going to be focusing on playing G major and D major chords, but if you can move this around, you can play any chord, any key. Let's go to shape 2. This is an inversion of the same triad. It's another G chord. It's another voicing of the G chord. For now, we're just going to think about it as a shape. We'll get into more detail later with a root note. This time the root note is on the B string. So I need to be careful that I know that this is G, which makes this G major, which means this is F, F major, E, E major, D, D major. It's very important that you understand which string the root note is on, which note is the root note within the shape, because I might think I'm playing a chord when I'm playing a different one. For example, if I thought that the root note within this shape was on the high E string, I might say, oh, there's a G, that's a G chord, right? No, that's an E flat chord, because the root note is actually at an E flat. So that's one thing to be careful about. Each triad voicing has a root note on a specific string. We got to pay attention to that. In this one, it's the B string. We got one more shape in our majors. We're going to go up here. This is our next G. And again, G, G, G. All G chords. This has a root note on the G string. G, G major. So if I want to play F, F, F major. E, E major, D, D major. So there's actually a third thing we have to know here. We have the shape under our hands. I gotta be able to play it. Whichever one. I gotta know the root note within the shape. Okay, it's the G string, it's the B string. But then I have to start to know some of the notes on the neck. And if you don't know this, that's fine, but you gotta start working on that knowledge because that's what's gonna allow you to say, okay, G string root note, I'm gonna play a D chord. So that would be G, A, B, C, D. That's a D chord. Sounds a lot like D. Make sense? Working on the notes on the strings is going to allow you to take the shape that ultimately we're working on playing and moving it around to every position. So these are our three major triad shapes. And I should mention that the fretboard is mirrored. So if I'm over here, I'm playing this shape because it's supposed to be lined up with your guitar. So just keep that in mind. I'm over here, I'm playing that shape. So let's keep going. We're going to turn these major shapes into minor shapes. A minor chord is exactly the same as a major chord, except we flat the third, which means we move the third one half step down the neck. So in the G chord, the B is the third. So I actually flatten this to B flat. Now I have a G minor chord. That's G minor. So item one, can I play this? Can I grab it? For some of you, this might be super easy because you're good at bars. For some of you, that might be really odd and awkward. Just work on it. It'll come together. Now, the root note's in the same place. So G goes to A. We have A, but not just A major, A minor. The shape is the quality. In this case, it's a minor chord. A minor, B minor, C minor, C, C minor, C major, C minor. You can practice alternating between majors and minors with your triads. Major, minor. If you can do those two things and work on the notes on the neck, you can play any chord anywhere. Next shape, we take our second G major shape and we flat the B on the high E string. That's a G minor chord. Sounds a lot like this one. G minor. Root note, still on the B string. G, F, F minor, E, E minor. Sounds like E minor. D minor. And you'll notice that, wait a second, yeah, that's just D minor. Some of these triad shapes are, all of them really, are pieces or sections of open chords or chords that you've maybe previously played, moved around, reimagined, and ultimately reused to play other chords. So we've got our G minor in two positions. And our last G minor, we flat the B on the B string. So now I have a G minor chord with the G on the G string and the third, flat third, on the B string. G minor, G minor, G minor. This is how you play any chord anywhere. What type of chord do I want to play? Major or minor? Where do I want to play it? I find a root note, and then what is the root note within that shape? So if I'm on here, ring finger root note, G minor. If I'm here, B string, ring finger, but B string, I should think B string. G minor, high E string, G minor. I can play G minor everywhere, and subsequently, any other chord that I know the note of along the neck. So now let's put it into the song. So this is where it gets a little more tricky because we have to play different chords than just G. So we have to find different notes and make decisions about what shapes we're going to use. So here's the first set. And the way I've written it is we've got 4 fretboards, and we're going to play down the page. The top shape is the E minor. The next shape on the second line is the A minor. The next shape on the third line is the D chord, D major. And then the last shape is the G major. Now we're going to go through why each one was chosen. Essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to stay in a given position. I'm not trying to jump around the neck. I want to play in one spot, and that's going to make me cycle through a variety of shapes. So E minor, essentially we have an E at the 5th fret of the B string, and I need an E minor, so I build this triad on that. Now I couldn't build this triad because that's E major. I couldn't build this triad because that's not the root note of that shape. Does that make sense? The root note here is A. So I might think I'm playing, oh, E and a minor triad, but I'm actually playing A minor, which, if you've noticed, subsequently is the next shape. E minor, A minor. I'm playing D here because this is a D note, and that root note on the B string is the root note of this shape. And you're like, wait a second, that's just open D. Yeah, it is. But it's a sort of triad shape that we're going to be able to move around and see in multiple positions. And then our last chord, G, is right here. So we have a G root note, and we build our major triad off of that high E string. E minor, A minor, D, G. Now if you want to work on the rhythm, that's a great task. I wouldn't say that that's the focus of our video today. Today is more about learning how to move the shapes around and understanding the guitar than necessarily playing rhythm. But playing rhythm is just about the best practice you can do. So once you're clear with, okay, here's my E minor, here's my A minor, here's my D, here's my G, put it into the rhythm of the song and see if you can strum. All right, now where the real hard work begins, as if it's not already difficult. We are going to play 2 more versions of this song. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to write out all 3 triads for each of the 4 chords on 4 fretboards. You can see I've thrown that on the screen. And what we're going to do is we're going to section them into essentially columns. Now they're not perfectly even, but they're going to be color-coded. If you play all the green ones that just go down in a line, you're going to stick in one position. If you play all the blue ones, it's going to show you what the next position. So let's take a look at that second position. My E minor chord is moved up to the 7th fret. I have an E on the G string, and I build a minor triad off of that. That's exactly the same as this chord, or any other minor triad you know. E minor, you know, I should say. But we're choosing to play it at the 7th fret, so you get a different position of the guitar. The second chord is the A minor. And you start to say, wait, I used that one already. Right. We used that for the E minor down here, but we're repurposing it for the A minor in this position. This is A on the B string, and now this is the A minor chord. E minor, A minor. Now we have our D chord, root note on the G string, major triad, which goes to G, root note on the B string, major triad, E minor, A minor, D, G. And again, that's the focus, but if you want to throw the rhythm, it's going to be way more fun. Play with the song, practice the rhythm. Let's keep going. We got one more column of our Triad Bootcamp. New E minor chord. Say, wait a second, I've already used that. Yeah, the A minor from the first rendition has been repurposed. A, B, C, D, E. That was terribly not in tune with my singing. E minor to my A minor, which we just used for the E minor, but now it's A minor. You try to keep on top of all those locations. It gets a little bit tricky. E minor, A minor, D, G. High E string root note, E minor triad. G string root note, A minor triad. High E string root note, D major triad. B string root note, I get confused. G string root note, major triad. E minor, A minor, D to G. Now as a bonus, there's a couple bonuses, but bonus number 1, move your first position up the neck, play it up the octave. lot easier than it seems if you don't think about frets, because the numbers translate very oddly. Think about the dots. When I'm playing that first E minor triad, my first finger is in line with that first dot. Guess what? The first dot here is the same as the first dot after the octave. So think first dot, first dot. Now ultimately what I really should say is I should say, hey, the E is at the second dot. So think second dot E, second dot E. E minor, E minor. Second dot A minor, second dot A minor. First dot D, D, first dot D, first dot G, G major, first dot G, G major. So you can play this opening riff in the exact same fingering as the open position or the first position, because we're essentially just moving it up the octave. We have gone through every iteration of the triads. Now we're starting over. So that's kind of the boot camp, right? And that's a lot of it. That's basically playing all of your major triads in the top 3 strings and all of your minor ones, mixing them around for different positions of different chords. Where this gets really fun is we start to ask, well, do I have to stick to a position? Can I pair this triad with that one? Can I move in a different direction? And the answer is yeah, the world is our oyster as long as we retain our understanding of what chord we're playing. So check these couple out. Now these might be confusing the way that I've written them. Hopefully you can make it out, but I've kind of created some pathways that you can play through the shapes. Remember, we're always going down the page. E minor, A minor, D, G. We're always going down the page. But the first one I'm going to play is ascending. I'm going to start from my E minor here to my A minor, and then I'm going to move into the next position for the D and the G. So now I have like an ascending pattern. And it's kind of the same song, but it's also different. It's new, it's different. And we can do that again. I can start at this E minor. This is column 2 that I've written, or path 2. Go to that A minor, and then continue up the neck to the next position, D and G. So now I have a second ascending version. Pretty cool. I can go down. You can manipulate the chord change of a song so that it sounds like it's ascending, or it sounds like it's descending, based on how you pick the chords. So in this last one, I'm going to start with this E minor from the last position we did. I'm going to move down to the A minor from what I would say is the second position we did. I'm going to keep moving down to the D from the second position we did, and then end up on the G in the first position we did. So now I have a descending. Isn't that weird? Like I can make the song sound like it's going up, or I can make it sound like it's going down. It's all about how you play and how you choose your chords and how you organize them around the neck. So hopefully this makes sense. This is a lot of work. It's not too long of a video for the amount of work that we've done. We've done 3 major triad shapes. We've done 3 minor triad shapes. We've talked about the root notes within each one of the shapes so that you can understand, oh, I'm playing an E, or I'm playing an F, or I'm playing a G. And then we talked about how you have to sort of learn the notes on the neck. It's one thing to know that the B string is my root note. That's great. But if I don't know where any of these notes are or what they are, I'm not going to be able to do any of it. So that's number 3, is like, really, I've got to start to work on learning the notes of the neck. Otherwise, I'm going to have a pretty difficult time realizing my ideas. Okay, I know I want to play up here, but I don't know what the note is. So you got to think about that. I got to learn the notes of the neck. So the last thing you can do is, if you've got your own 3-4 chord song, make your own triad version. Make a version a la this song. Make your own version of a song in this style for whatever chord progression you're doing. Maybe you're doing G, C, D. Okay, G, C, D. You say, I don't like that G. I'll do G, C, D. It opens up a whole lot of guitar playing all around the neck, and you just have to ask those questions. Major, minor, triad shape, root note within the shape, notes along the neck. So, I consider you to have graduated from Triad Bootcamp if you can play first position, second position, third position, up the octave, ascending version 1, ascending version 2, and then descending triad song without stopping. So let's see if I can do it, and if you feel like you're there, just play along with me. 2, 3, E minor, A minor, D, G, E minor, A minor, D, G, E minor, A minor, D, G. Up the octave, E minor, A minor, D. We got ascending, E minor, A minor, D, G. Ascending again, E minor, A minor, D. Descending, E minor. We did it. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. Let me know in the comments below if it made sense, if it was a good lesson or not, and what you'd like to see on the channel. Please like, subscribe, share if there's stuff that you'd want to see or you'd think somebody else would enjoy this. And I will see you next week for another guitar lesson. Thanks for watching.